So I have been dating. It's been about 3 months. Many people think 3 months is a good early sign of how things are going. We've been going out about once a week, mostly in New York City. And I know it's early, but I really do think this could go somewhere. Now, I admit I'm not dating a person, and no, I'm not dating an AI either. Thank you for your concern. I've been going on something called an artist date, which is a solo outing once a week with your quote inner artist to do something that feeds you creatively. And the idea comes from this book, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, which has been sitting on my shelf for a year. I finally decided to go through it. And when I read about the artist date, I was like, no, hard pass, swipe left. Right. But back in January, it was really cold here in the New York area. I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything anyways. It's too cold out. So I finally gave in. I drove all the way out to visit the Brooklyn Museum for the very first time. And I walked through the exhibits. I took my time. I tried to pretend like I was in awe of looking at forks and dishes by civilizations long gone. But on my way out, I went through the gift shop, sitting in a display case, these Blackwing pencils. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard about this brand. It's only been a few months for me, but a few months earlier, I've been doing research for a client's book project and stumbled across a Wall Street Journal video about the history of this pencil. Now, most people can't name a pencil brand, but the Blackwing has an almost mythological history. John Steinbeck wrote The Grapes of Wrath with this pencil. Chuck Jones drew Bugs Bunny with this pencil, and one Disney animator loved his Blackwing so much that he was buried with it. Now, when the original company went under in 1998, individual pencils were selling on the resale market for up to $40, sometimes up to $200 each. And eventually, a company in California decided to bring this thing back. They bought the trademark. Thing is, the formula didn't come with it. So they had to reverse engineer the pencil from the physical object itself. They had to do a ton of testing. And they even had to figure out how to make this like really distinct flathead eraser. I think the machine to make this eraser cost $250,000, believe it or not. Now, when the new version of these pencils launched, the purists complained that it just wasn't the same, right? And the company's response was, we're not calling it a reproduction, we're calling it a tribute. Now, ever since I saw that video, I wanted to get my hands on one of these pencils, but it was just one of those things I figured I'd do one day, but never get around to doing. So, hooray for synchronicities. Who would have thought that after visiting a museum, the coolest thing I'd see were the pencils in the gift shop? I picked up a box as well as a bunch of their colored pencils. I had no idea what I would use these for, but I figured to grab them. Now, one of the other exercises in the artist's way is what Cameron calls morning pages. These are 3 pages of longhand writing in the morning, stream of consciousness, no editing, no reading, no sharing them with anybody. And I thought to myself, who in the world has time for that? Well, I figured if I'm going to do something, I might as well go all the way. And if I'm going to go through this book, let me just go all the way. So I decided to use the Blackwing pencils for that activity. And I haven't missed a morning in a month. Now, a couple of weeks ago, my friend Lauren Davis came through town, and on a Saturday afternoon, we went into New York City again to hang with her dad's best friend, Doug, who is somewhat like an uncle to her. Now, Doug is cool. Like, he's a hip guy, and that's what she kept saying to me. She's like, he's really cool. You'll really like him. Now, Doug's in his 60s. He radiates creative energy. He's had a storied career in advertising. And the three of us had a great time strolling through bookstores, hanging at a bar, and we went to an art event in Chelsea. Now, at some point, Doug mentioned that he also writes comic books on the side for the New York indie circuit. And I asked him when he started, and he said he was my age. Now, I was totally floored. And to be honest, lately I've had this sort of low grade feeling that has been hard to put words to. It's not really depression or sadness, it's more of like a quiet hum of too late. And I'm not sure if everyone else in their 40s feels this. I don't know if this is a midlife thing, but it's like a weird decade, the 40s. And I've found myself thinking that the window for new things is narrowing and I should be getting my act together or whatever. And of course, I know if you're older than your 40s, you're probably like, shut up. You're young. Like, this is just how life works, right? I know it's stupid. I could be in my 60s and have decades of fun stuff ahead of me. And maybe I had to meet Doug to realize that. But to be honest, knowing something and feeling something are different. And lately, the feeling has been louder than the knowing. Now, again, more synchronicities. A week later, just this past weekend, Doug invited me to a convention for independent comic book artists, which was literally at the same venue that we went to a week earlier with Lauren. So I went. I have no idea where any of this is going, but I went. About a year ago, I made a commitment at my friend Selena Sue's event here in New York to cut my Zoom calls by 90%. I am almost there. And I have clearly been replacing them, replacing screen time with pencils, gallery visits, in person conversations with actual people. I went from producing content to doing morning pages that nobody will ever read. I've been on more artist dates in the last 3 months than actual dates in the last 3 years. And when I was heading home from South by Southwest a few weeks ago, I strolled through the airport bookstore while waiting for my Uber. Newark Terminal A is actually pretty nice now. And there they were again, a full display case of Blackwing pencils, different graphite weights this time. So I bought two more boxes, hard graphite for work and medium for morning pages, soft for the morning pages. Look at this. I now own more pencils than a fourth grader. This is kind of a problem. This is kind of obsessive, right? I never liked pencils, but here we are. My suspicion is that all this is happening because I spent the last decade building on screens, Zoom calls, webinars, online courses, social media, email funnels, you name it. All of it was mediated through glass. Somewhere in the last year, I clearly started reaching for things, even subconsciously, that I could hold. I feel like a musician switching instruments, not because the old guitar is bad or broken, but because the new one lets them hear something they couldn't before. I'm going to put these pencils down. And like these pencils, maybe this next season isn't a reproduction of what came before. Maybe it's a tribute. It's definitely no coincidence that I've been happier writing my newsletters, doing less on social media, having fun with these videos, cutting Zoom calls, doing more in-person conversations and commerce in person, right? Workshops and things like that. So I'll probably keep dating. Now, if you'd like any of the links to the things I mentioned in this episode, they'll be in the description of this video and of the podcast if you're listening on the audio channel. Check out the Blackwing pencil. Just check out the site or whatever it is that you can do to get yourself back into something tactile off a screen where you're in real life engaging in multi-sensory things. If you think about what we do on screens, you're missing so many of your other senses. You don't smell a screen. You don't taste it. It's not kinesthetic. You're just touching glass, right? So this has been a huge breakthrough for me in just reconnecting with my own creativity, my own ideas through that creativity, and it's been a lot of fun. And I hope this episode encourages you in some way to get back to the humanity of it all. All right. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And if you're listening on the podcast, would super appreciate a review. If you haven't left one yet, really helps get word out about what I do here. And I will see you next time.